Okay, so the next thing that we can try is actually SMTP enumeration. SMTP stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and that runs over port 25. It's pretty much port, if you remember from the networking section, it's for sending email. We can potentially gather information, if that port is actually open. So we can connect to it like with NCAT and then actually send it out commands to see if a specific user exists or not. So let's go ahead and try that out. So we're back on our Kali Linux machine. So let's go ahead and actually try this SMTP enumeration manually. So let's try. So it's NCAT, and then we're gonna do a -NV. And then we're going to do our address 102.168.56.104. That is the address for our metasploitable machine. And let's choose port 25. And then we can hit enter. So we see that we're connected over SMTP, which is port 25, as we know, because it is an open port. So what we can do is the verify command. So it's VRFY and then something like root. If you see something like this come up, then we know that that this user is actually there. But if we try something else like VRFY, I don't know, I don't live here, it's gonna say, hey, user is unknown. This is a good way that you can actually enumerate users on a system. Outside of doing this manually, one way that we can do it is we can use a script. So remember I taught you guys about scripting. This is where it can kind of come in handy. You can use your brain to kind of like actually find ways to automate things. So I have a script. It's called smtp.py. So it actually goes through and does this process for us. As you know, we start with this command for our Python scripts. We import socket, import sys, and then this is like, if we do it wrong, like if we don't have the right number of arguments, it's going to tell you how to actually use it correctly. So the usage, as you can see, is smtp.py and then followed by a space and then a username. This just connects to the socket, port 25 on the machine. So you have to go in. You can also make that a variable too if you wanted to. But for the purposes of this, we just made it a string since we know exactly which one we want to go to. Then it prints out the banner. Like when it connects to it, then it sends out the verify command. You gotta make sure you have this space right here too. It's very important. And then it's gonna store the result here and then print it out and then close the connection. So let's actually go ahead and try this out. So when you make it, you also have to do like a chmod +x command and then smtp.py just to make it executable. So you can just do /smtp.py and let's try root. And then bam, now we know a way that we can automate this so we don't have to actually go through and connect and type in the command. We just run this script and give it a username. You can even do like a list of usernames if you wanted to. So you feel free to trick that script, for your own usage. Okay, so another tool is the Nessus vulnerability scanner. Now it's a vulnerability scanner. It looks for vulnerabilities. It allows you to scan the entire network and discover what vulnerabilities actually exist on each computer on it. So this is a paid tool, but they have a free version that actually limits the number of IPs that you can scan, but you can still go ahead and grab that and use that for practicing some scanning in your own lab at home. Another vulnerability scanner, if you don't want to pay for Nessus and you want something fully functional and free, OpenVAS is a good option. It's an open source vulnerability scanner. It's free to the public. It's not as robust and it won't catch as much as Nessus would, but it can be a solid vulnerability scanner if you set it up right and use it correctly. Now, I will reiterate, it is very painful to keep that thing updated and actually functioning, and the user interface is not intuitive at all, but it's still a vulnerability scanner. I think that it's said to have about maybe like half or like a third of the vulnerabilities that Nessus covers, but it's still free and something that you could use on your own.